and it's day one and you walking in there on the first day, man, you in there, man. But you feel something. It's right in here, man. And it's screaming, and it's yelling, and it's saying, release me. And it's saying, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt, and I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! You got this! You got this! You got this! Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 234 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got in the building this morning. In the building here at the Gaylord Opryland in Nashville, Tennessee, right? We got, let me turn off my email, man. Here we go. All right, we got Constance Sherrod is in the building. She said greetings to the Kafele family down in Pearl, Mississippi. We got Michael Benton, Cincinnati, Ohio. Mona Obamolek is in Orlando, Florida. Where we got Grace Castaneda. She said happy early birthday. That's right. It's coming. Tuesday, number 64. Looking like 25. We got Dr. Rachel Edoeket down in Maryland in the building. We got Yolanda McKinney in the building. She said happy birthday. I'm gonna respond to all these happy birthdays when we do next week's when I'm in Montego Bay. We got Rodney Richardson, Hampton, Virginia. Where we at? Dr. Rella Hicks is in the building down in Augusta, Georgia. Takesha High, Virginia. Lysandra Brackens, North Carolina. Where we at? Ray Lenz is in the building. We say, I appreciate that, sir. I appreciate it. Where we at? I'm going to read the rest of that later on the plane, Ray. We got Marsha Poe in the building, San Diego. Rod Laws, Hotep and Harambe out in Greenfield, North Carolina. Chancellor Davis, Vegas. We got AP, Patrick Lawrence. Where we at? Connecticut. Leslie Akintunde. Good morning to you. Stacy Joy out there in LA. Good to see you. A little bit under the weather. I said, okay, well, take care of yourself. You've been having, those extreme weather conditions and so forth. Maybe that's part of it. Where we at? Oh, Leslie Akintunde is in Northern Virginia. Dr. Demetria Scott's in the building. Principal Otis Kitchen II is in the building. I should say Dr. Scott in Alabama and Otis Kitchen in Tampa. Coach Central in Central Texas. John Herricks, Denton, Texas. Melissa Jones Chunu out there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Doc McKeever Jeter is in Calumet City, Illinois. Good to see you. We got Asia Burnett in Jersey in the building. I tell people all the time, man, I wear a jersey on this sleeve and I wear a jersey on this sleeve, man. I'm all Jersey, man. I'm Jersey. Sometimes I feel like I want to move to another state, and then them Jersey strings be pulling me back, man. Like, you Jersey, man. Let me see where we at. Dr. Sheikah Houston in the building. Her and Dr. Tammy Taylor, man, you got to check them out. They were dropping them nuggets this morning. I'm listening. That's at 10:30, and then Sean Hurt at 10 o'clock. And man, he was talking instructional rounds. Sean always says, let me know if I'm talking good. I wrote on there, you talking real good, my brother. Right? He was listen, you gotta go back to Sean's, you gotta watch that, right? He was, instructional rounds, it's various different interpretations of what that is. you got to go back to his presentation this morning and check that out. Right. I know he needed more time, but just check it out because he was talking about what it is and what it isn't. Right. So and then Dr. Houston and Dr. Taylor, they introduced, I guess it's going to be a series on multi-tier systems of support, MTSS. So you gotta check that out, man. They dropping great stuff, man. I love this Super Saturday and I love this Fantastic Four. Super Saturday is the three of us on Saturday mornings, and then the Fantastic Four means all of us with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno. So check us all out. But I just love Super Saturday because y'all get to go starting with 10 o'clock Eastern, 10:30 Eastern, then 10:55 Eastern, man. What a way to start the day with all this free PD, man. What a way, what a way. Enough said. Let me keep going, and then I'm gonna shut it down. We got Rod Laws in the building. We got Vanessa Zeskin in the building. September Devon Vance Daniels in the building. That's Jersey. Jersey always here. TJ Williams is in the building, live from Ohio. I love it. Kenya Williams is in the building from OKC. Jeff Milner, LaKenya Rowland, Golf Far, my man, WT. I'll be in NABC Golf Far, November 21. All right, so that's going to be right there in Atlanta. So you come on and enjoy the entire conference, but I'll be there November 21, man. And I'm bringing flames, man, because I haven't spoken at NABC in a minute. So, I'm going to be bringing some flames down there. That's a different audience. So, it requires a different me. Janet Ray Choney, somebody probably said, what's he mean by that? You come to NABC and you'll see. Robin Snowden's in the building. I'm getting ready to shut it down. I'm going to shut it down with Jacqueline Harriet. Good to see you, Jacqueline Harriet, up there in Nova Scotia, Canada. Good to see. And I see a lot of other familiar names, but I'm gonna stop right there because I can't go like real long today. But I'm gonna try to do at least 2 hours, but I can't go super long because I got a 2 o'clock flight, which would mean 3 o'clock Eastern. So I got to walk through this thing, and invariably people are gonna see me and they're gonna say, "Can I get a picture? Can I get a selfie?" I went down. I had to go to the front lobby this morning, man, and people were stopping me. I'm like, "Oh man," and I stopped. I'm flattered by that. I'm grateful for it, man. But I do it. And sometimes I miss flights because I don't want to say no to anybody. Because when I see people like, the famous people, I'm not famous. I'm just an educator trying to do my part. And a few people know me. But the superstars, the celebrities, that's a better word. Forget superstars. Scratch that word. The celebrities, when I see people that like, they think they too big for this stuff, man. I'm like, man, later for you. Let me find my record collection of you and put all them records in the trash can. It's So I'm never going to get too big for that in the education space, right? So there's a lot of people out here that know. There's some people that know I've literally missed flights so that I could take pictures. Literally, I've literally missed flights so that I could sign autographs in my books. The clients like, you got to go. You got to catch this flight. I'm like, you see that line? You see a long line? I'm not leaving these folks. If they want to stand in a line that long for me, like me, let me say that again. Me, like who the heck am I? If you're gonna stand on a line, it look like it's a mile long just to get a selfie with me later for the flight. That's where I'm at. So if there's somebody out there that maybe needed to hear that, right? Like you think you almighty because because your school test scores are so high, right? Or if there's some of my speaker colleagues and you think you all that chest out, I walk around, I'm a big shot now. Nah, man. You big because them people out there made you big. They support you. And I'm never gonna forget that. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to week. Let me say formally, good. We're gonna keep it low, right? I'm in the hotel. Good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 234 of the AP and New Principals Academy. And I don't know about you, but I think I know. But let me let you know, real calm. I am on fire, man. I gotta tell y'all something. First, shout out to the ASCD. Let me do it in this order. Shout out to Lehigh Valley Academy Regional Charter School. That's the elementary, middle, and high school. Spent a whole day with them out in Pennsylvania earlier this week, man. Great time. Jahara Moore, Valentine invited me, and we just had a great time, man. Glad to be with him. Glad to be at that school with the folks. Matter of fact, The principal is fam, man. It's just had a good time, man. But secondly, ASCD Leadership Summit, which is where I'm at now. I spoke yesterday, but let me tell y'all something, man. Yesterday, like most of the times I do breakout sessions, my room fills up like sometimes an hour before it's time to go. So I get there early to, take the pictures, baby. I ain't got no issue with that, man. I'm flattered, right? And sign the books because people can bring books and all that. And then the ASCD was selling books. So anyway, the room was full sort of about 10 minutes after, 10 minutes after 10. My session was at 10:30. I said, okay, I'm going to do one of them Steve Harvey joints. I do that sometime. When those of you that know what he does at Family Feud, he speaks to the audience before the show starts taping, or he speaks to the audience between commercial breaks. And, they're not on the same kind of schedule as what we see on TV. So I said, let me go off topic and just holler at my audience on life, And man, people came up to me after that and they like, Principal Kafele, I love your session. But that message, that word you gave us before the session, you were speaking to me. People came up, man, they were coming up to me all day. You were talking to me on that one. See, what a beautiful thing when you got your audience, but you got them early, and you could deviate from the real message that they're there for and give them that life message. Said differently, you can give them that sermon. See, so I gave them that sermon, man, and I'm gonna share this with you because it's relevant for y'all. One of the things at the core of what I said, I know y'all came here for professional development, but there's some of y'all in here that should be here to present a topic because you that brilliant. But you sitting on your knowledge, you sitting on your brilliance, and instead coming to watch others and learn from others when you should be teaching others. Man, people came up to me, man, I've been sitting on these proposals, man. I know I should be sending in proposals. I know I should be speaking at these conferences, but I needed to hear you. I needed that confirmation. See, that's what this is about, man. That's why I love this work, man. That's why I love this work, baby. So shout out to ASCD Leadership Summit. And then that webinar that some of y'all know we did for ASCD last week, they asked us to do it in person. That's why I'm here today, because we did it late yesterday. I couldn't get a flight. So we did myself, Salome Thomas L., known as Principal L., Kwame Simmons, and then Dr. Keisha Chandler was the moderator. Let me tell y'all something, and then I'm going to stop. Packed room, standing room only. Let me tell you something. I'm going to get loud on this one. We lit that joint up. We lit that up, baby. Woo! We lit it up, man. Now we talking about taking it on the road. Going all over America, conferences and so forth. Main stage, the four of us, the three, me, Principal L, Dr. Salome Thomas L is his full name, Kwame Simmons, and then Dr. Keisha Chandler. We take this on the road. We tore that thing up. We were supposed to go from 4 to 5. Them people stayed in that room. We went from 4 till about 7 o'clock. You hear me? Them people stayed in that room. 4 o'clock, we finished about 7 o'clock, man. Just the three of us, man. and I might add, we all let our hair down. We all loosened the collar. We all took the tie off. We ain't hold back on this one. We knew we was at the conference, but we ain't hold back on this one, man. We fed them people. So we gonna figure out a way to take this on the road, man. So next time we do this, we'll let you know. We'll let you know. She could say, "Woo! You stay where the knowledge is." See, the knowledge was in there. The knowledge was there. The energy was there. The passion was there. Right? The experience was there. See, we ain't up there, like good speakers, but we ain't done this work. See, because some people exist. They speak well, but if you start having a technical conversation with them in education, right? Like, see, they'll know their content. But if you start having like a technical conversation with them on the nuts and bolts that only the practitioners would know, they'd be like Ralph Cramden, humana. Like that. Now, some of y'all too young to know what I just said. You got to know the honeymooners, right? So I'm saying You can't just be, you skilled in articulating. You got to know this stuff, man. Like the best credibility is when not only you can articulate it, but you can demonstrate, you got receipts, right? You got a resume that says, but I did it. And I did it at the highest level. That matters for the audience too. How you gonna be in there? You talking your stuff, man. Oh, so when did you do this? Oh no, I didn't do it. I just can explain it to you. Oh, hey, Kim, my wife's on here. You need to write. Stop. You going too far, man. All right, y'all. I'm stopping, man, because I might say too much, right? So here we go. Hey, y'all. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, AP and New Principals Academy, right? All 234 on there. This one live going on right now. So they're all there. So if you're new, welcome to the first timers. But if you are a first timer, realize that you got to go back. I've been doing this is year 5, right? So I've been doing this for a while. You go to the older videos, you're going to say, man, Kafele look different, right? I look a little younger. Then if we get into the pandemic heavy, then you're gonna say, whoa, he look like Santa Claus. I grew this white beard, man, right? And then as time went on, then I shaved it down, right? And here we are. So check it out, man. Check it out. And then make sure that you like and follow the AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page. I'm not gonna promise I'm gonna write every week anymore, because last Sunday I just didn't have the energy. So I didn't. So check it out on Sunday morning. It might be a commentary there, it might not be. Let me finish out, because I got the big time guest here. I got the big time guest with the big time topic. Let me put this up here on the screen. Bam! Man, that book went to #1 yesterday, man, on Amazon. See, they gave me all these flyers. You may have seen the picture on social media I posted. They had a stack of flyers. I was like, man, look at that flyer, baby. And then so then I looked at the Amazon numbers, and yesterday went back to #1. I don't know where it is now. It's probably not at 1. But I'm just blessed by the people who are doing all these pre-orders. So that's the new joint. Just go to ascd.org or go to amazon.com and put in my name. Book will show up. Pre-order your copy. When you pre-order, because the book's not printed yet. So when you pre-order, then ASCD knows how many they need to copy. I mean, how many they need to print. Because as I say to you every week, they always sell out on release day because people wait until release day to put their order through, right? So pre-order, so that like if they need to print 10,000, not 2,000. If they need to print 10,000, then they'll print 10,000. If they need to print 20,000, then they'll print 20,000. But if you wait till then and all the pre-order people, and it was like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, then that's probably what they're going to print, right? So just make sure that you order early. I promise you, I did not let you down in this book. I promise you that. I did not let you down in this book. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise, right? So make sure that. Let me get this monologue in, and then I'm gonna bring on my guests, man. It's already 11:10. Well, I'm in Central time zone, but Eastern 11:14. My monologue is called Protecting Your Leadership Authority. Let me get my book out the way. Protecting your leadership authority. What am I saying? As I was thinking about what I was going to say this morning, the term leadership authority, its sibling would be leadership credibility, right? I'm not going to equate them, and I'm not going to say they're synonymous, but they're siblings. They more than just cousin, right? Or best friend. They siblings. Leadership authority, leadership credibility. I want to talk about authority right now, and I'll probably do credibility next week. That word protecting, that's the prominent word in my book, The Assistant Principal Identity. So if you don't have it, get that book, The Assistant Principal Identity. The whole book is on protecting 35 different aspects of your leadership. I was just talking about you, Stacey. Maybe we ran into one of the Richmond County folks this morning. We took a pic and everything. And then I said, anytime I meet someone from Richmond County, do you know Stacey? Maybe I get excited. It's like asking, like, do I know the president of the United States, right? Because when I ask people in Richmond County, people get excited when I ask, do I know Dr. Stacey Mabry? Like, do I know her? Oh my God. Yeah, so you big time down there, man. You big time. Hey, Stacey Mabry, let me holler at you for a minute. I know I'm in the middle of the monologue, y'all. Hey, Stacey Mabry, let me holler at you. You should be here presenting at the ASCD Leadership Summit. Hey, Stacey Mabry. Hey, Dr. Stacey Mabry, let me say it to you one more time. You should be here presenting at the ASCD Leadership Summit. How dare you not be here presenting at the ASCD Leadership Summit? I'm putting you on blast, right? With all these people on this call right now, Dr. Stacey Mabry, you should be here presenting at the ASCD Leadership Summit. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Stacey Mabry, you should be on the main stage keynoting. Yes, I said it. You should be on the main stage keynoting. I'm putting you on blast, Dr. Stacey Mabry from Richmond County, Georgia. You should be here presenting. How dare you not be here? Enough said. I know you heard me, and I'm sure I'm going to see you at the next conference presenting. Sometimes you got to go hard at people, right? So here we go. Here we go. So protecting your leadership authority. Real quick, y'all. What I'm saying to you, when you got the position, you got the title, a certain level of authority came with that because you are the principal. You are the assistant principal, whatever your title may be, right? So now I'm saying to you, just because you got the title doesn't mean that it's going to automatically sustain itself with you. That's not going to happen. Now that you got it, you have to put up the safeguards to ensure that you maintain and sustain your authority, right? That's on you. So those lines can get blurred. When you start becoming chummy, right, with staff and let your hair down and you become a part of them. See, relationships and becoming chummy, crossing boundaries are not the same thing. They're not synonymous. Yes, have relationships, but understand your role. Never forget, at the end of the day, you are the authority. You are the principal. You are the assistant principal. You are the boss. So when y'all start hanging out on the weekend, then you start undermining your authority, right? When you start engaging in certain conversations with certain people and other people start finding out about it, you are undermining, you are sabotaging, you are compromising your authority as leader. You can, as much as you may love your staff, you took on this role as leader. Oh my God, Dr. Kenneth King, the one that taught me this stuff, is on the call. Oh man, that's like God working, man. The man that taught me this, the man that taught me leadership is on the call. Dr. Kenneth King, the godfather of the East Orange School District, not the one y'all might have been seeing in the news this past week. He's before that time. That would have never happened when he was there, right? So I don't want to confuse that. Dr. King probably said, okay, you can stop now. That was my boss, man, assistant superintendent for human resources, man. Dr. King and his wife, my principal at Ashland Elementary School. So again, those lines can't get blurred. But I got this other piece I want to say to you. And I'm old school, but see, I understand new school, but I don't always agree with new school. See, here's where I'm going with this. Sometimes we want to dress down to fit in. Let me tell you something. I don't mind you wear your school paraphernalia sometimes. I don't mind that. But I'm going to tell you this. There are certain times in that building, in the community, when you're having meetings with the community, not when you're amongst the people in the community, but when you're leading a meeting, right? Or you're in your school, there's certain times, many times, the suit is required. And I might add, with the tie, right? I might add, with the shoes shining. Right now, I know some young head out here watching, somebody in this Gen Z or the one that's right above it. Nah, man, that ain't how we get down no more. Nah. When you start looking like everybody else, you might lose some of your authority. Because now when people see you, they confused as to who and what you are. You got to show up looking like you the leader, right? It's not just the things you say and the things you do. Appearance matters too. You got to show up looking like you the leader. Again, you wear your school paraphernalia sometimes. That's fine. I ain't mad at you. But mix that up, man. Don't wear the polo shirt every day. At some point, rock that suit, put on that tie, walk them halls, walk in that classroom, walk in that cafeteria, so people realize, oh yeah, that's the boss right there. That's the leader right there. It's not confusing because you look just like the kindergarten teacher because you want to dress down. So here you the principal, but you look like you teach kindergarten. You look like you sit on the floor with your legs crossed, playing with kids, teaching them the various things that they learn in the kindergarten environment. No, you got to look like you, like they go to boss right there, the boss educator. You got to look like you the boss. That matters. That matters. So, I mean, I know definitively, had I been showing up there with sweatshirts and T-shirts and polo shirts and all that stuff, that would have undermined my authority. My authority, like, is this dude the boss? Or showing up at certain meetings that were important. And I ain't got on my suit. No, that matters, man. That matters. I show up in the community. I'm having a community event, a community meeting, and it's a serious meeting. I don't mean like little folks gonna be dancing. I don't mean that. I'm talking about it's a serious issue that I got to show up looking like I'm the boss, looking like that authority. That matters, right? So much more I could say about that. I'm gonna stop it right there because I got the big time guest here. So let's make that transition. But let me put a cap on what I just said. Make sure that you never undermine your own authority. That's not just in the examples I gave. That's a whole 2-hour session. Make sure that you never undermine, that you never sabotage your own authority. Because it's not going to be other people that do that. That's going to be you that does it to yourself. For whatever the reason, you trying to fit in, you trying to be this and that. No, you the boss now. And news flash. Let me remind you of something. I don't care what people say about your alignment with other people, your relationships with other people and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the freaking day, you stand alone. Because there's multiple teachers in the building, multiple secretaries in the building, multiple custodians in the building, multiple security if you got security, multiple different positions. But you know what? It's only one principal. It ain't multiple principals in the building unless the building's in bad shape. You stand alone. I don't care how many APs you got. The buck doesn't stop with any of them. If I made a mistake, Dr. King is on the call right now. If I made a mistake, he didn't call my AP. If my test scores were low, he didn't call my AP. He called me. The buck stops with you. Enough said. Listen, y'all. Let me get my guest up. Alva, I'm ready. Right. So let me get my guest up here. Come on back on that camera. Here she go. Here she go. Let me change background, man, because that background is not right. Where we at? Here we go. Hey, Alva Walker's in the building. How you doing?
I'm well, and yourself? Good morning.
Yes. I'm good, man. I got on my flannel. Harlem Globetrotters. Let me educate these folks right quick. The Harlem Globetrotters was not just a basketball team, y'all. Harlem Globetrotters had an exhibition Negro League baseball team, and this is the jersey. It is flannel. I am hot. I got the air blazing to keep me cool because this is heavy material, man. But this is what the Harlem Globetrotters exhibition team wore back during the Negro League. So I'm Superman. So here we go. Our topic today is trauma-informed leadership, folks. And this is I got a trauma-informed expert and a students with disabilities guru on the call, Alva Walker, coming to us from Texas. You coming from Dallas?
Yes, Dallas,
area?
Texas. Yes.
And y'all hear that Dallas accent, right? But we got a lot of Southerners on the call, so you ain't alone. It's probably more Southerners on here than it is Northerners, so you definitely not alone. But the Southerners always get on me about my act. They be talking about, man, where you from? I speak normal. It's you that got the issue, right? You talking about some New York, right?
Yes.
Let me tell you all about Alva, y'all. She's big time. Let me tell you all about her. Alva Walker is a dedicated advocate for students. I'm reading the long one because I only brought on one guest this week. I wanted to go one-on-one on this one. Dedicated advocate for students with disabilities, committed to creating a more inclusive and equitable education system. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas, Oak Cliff, Alva developed a deep sense of empathy and compassion for those facing challenges early on in her life. This led to her pursuit of a career in special education, where she has become a prominent change agent and voice for students with disabilities. Alva's educational journey began in Dallas ISD, a proud graduate of Skyline Career Development Center, motivated to make a difference, and she attended and earned her bachelor's in history and kinesiology from Jarvis Christian University, then Jarvis Christian College, which is an HBCU. After graduating, Alva worked as a special education teacher in a high-needs urban school district. Now, check this out. She quickly became known for her innovative teaching strategies and unwavering commitment to her students. Alva's dedication was evident as she developed personalized education plans, collaborated with families, and advocated for necessary resources and services. Driven by her passion to affect change beyond the classroom, Alva pursued. Now, check this out, y'all. This is heavy duty. She pursued a master's degree in educational leadership at Prairie View A&M University, HBCU. This allowed her to gain a deeper understanding of policies and systems impacting special education. So here she was. She had the pedagogy down pat, but now she wanted to look at it through another lens and understand the policies and systems that impact special education, special needs students. So with her newfound knowledge, Alva transitioned into a leadership role as Director of Special Education. Let me say that again. Transitioned into a leadership role as Director of Special Education, where she played a crucial role in implementing inclusive practices district-wide. Alva's passion for advocacy extends far beyond her professional experiences. She actively participates in local and national conferences, presenting on topics related to inclusive education, curriculum adaptations, and creating inclusive communities. Her commitment to empowering students with disabilities and dismantling barriers is evident through her involvement in various community-based organizations, where she serves as a board member and volunteer. Looking ahead, Alva aspires to effect broader systemic change in education. She envisions developing professional development programs for educators that focus on understanding and implementing inclusive practices. She believes in the power of collaboration, plans to work closely with policymakers, educators, parents, and community members to influence policy and ensure that students with disabilities receive the support and opportunities they deserve. She's unwavering. Her unwavering commitment to being a change agent and voice for students with disabilities shines through her educational background, professional experience, unwavering passion for inclusivity. Her tireless efforts for equity in education have already made a significant impact, and she continues to inspire others to join her in creating an education system that truly supports and empowers students with disabilities. Finally, Alva's a proud wife of Michael J. Walker Sr., and they have three beautiful children, Michael Jr., Mackenzie, and Madison. Due to her love for kids and always investing in her family, she has been an active aunt to all her nieces and nephews, one in particular, Jalen, who is an education major at Grambling State University. Alva lives by the famous quote of Walt Disney, "It's kind of fun doing the impossible." Good stuff, good stuff. Hey, y'all, hit the share button, hit the retweet button, repost, tag them Facebook leadership groups, text somebody, call somebody, let them know we ready to rock. Hey, Alva, let's go. according to your bio, you had developed this deep sense of empathy and compassion for children with disabilities early on in your life, which led to your pursuit of a career in special education. My question to you, where is this deep sense of empathy and compassion with children, of children with disabilities? Where is that all coming from?
I think it first started in my childhood. I grew up a very close-knit family in Dallas, and I had an older cousin that had Down syndrome. And my grandmother's sister, my aunt, raised her youngest daughter that had Down syndrome, just like she raised her other 9 kids, her other 8 kids. But this particular cousin took care of us because she was much older, and just her uniqueness about learning, being involved, and making sure that we learn the things the way that she learned it made me say, hey, there is a difference in people. God created us all different, but how do I make sure that I support those people to ensure that they get the services that they need? And so my grandmother's sister wasn't formally educated, such as myself, but she reached out to every resource available to her. We affectionately called her Lily. That wasn't her name, but Lily was our family member that we embraced her, even though she had Down syndrome, as if she was just any the rest of our family. And just that love that Lily showed us, the love that my aunt showed us through Lily, really provoked me to say, hey, I want to work with the population such as my cousin.
I love it. I love it. You know, Alva, we as a society, there are many of us who talk about the significance of purpose, the significance of having a why. And, you know, certainly a part of my conversation yesterday when I did that pre-message before the message, I talked about the why. When I look at my life, when I reflect upon my life pretty much daily, I'm thinking about my why, my purpose for doing this work, which is what sustains me. But I also know that there are a lot of us as human beings who are devoid of a why. We don't have a why. We just wake up and show up and do whatever we do and then go to sleep at night and start over. But there's not this narrow thing, as opposed to just, I want to live life. There's not this narrow thing that's driving us to be great at something, like such as what you do. You are great at, you're phenomenal at. We've never met before, I guess less than a month ago. And we met in Las Vegas. You're giving a presentation, and I go to you and I say, I need you on this platform. I have a 5-year waiting list, but I brought you way to the front because it was clear and evident to me that this work is your why. This is far, because I know there's more to you than the work, but the work part, you have specific reasons as to why. So where I'm going with this, you found your why at an early age. My question to you, how are you able to maintain your why, your purpose? How are you able to continue to move but walking in this narrow path?
I think career-wise, when we look at how my career was tracked, I started out as a special education teacher in Dallas ISD. And when I looked in my room, I had 13 boys of color, either Latino males or African-American males, and 2 girls. And having that classroom, being in that classroom with those students, not having a lot of resources, even though it was 2001, not having a lot of resources. My kids were not exposed to a lot of things. They were just expected to come in this room so that they wouldn't act up in the other classrooms. And just, I had more for my 13 boys than 2 girls. I wanted more for them. I wanted them to have an opportunity to be productive citizens, and that they could be valuable in this society, and then to have a relationship with someone that was a product of the community. I'm a product of Oak Cliff. I'm a product of Dallas ISD inner city schools, and I wanted them to see that as this is a product that made it, you still have this within you, and your disability does not define you. I often tell people that all students with disabilities start out as gen ed students first. They're not special education students. They start out as gen ed students. And if we really look at my why was to make sure that I had the conversation with them to know that I'm invested in you, that I have a love for you, and that I understand and I acknowledge the fact that the calling on my life is to be the voice for you. I'm a very talkative person, and I believe that my creator designed me to speak on behalf of those individuals that don't know they have a voice. And those particular individuals are students with disabilities, particularly people that look like me.
Yeah, yeah,
And
particularly.
so that's been my driving force, is to be the voice for those that don't know that they have a voice, that you have this right, that you have this resource, that you are afforded this civil liberty of a free, appropriate public education. And so I'm going to put it in front of you as often as I can. I'm going to advocate for it. I think that this is the hill that I'm on. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is the calling that God has placed on my life. And so I acknowledge that calling, and I don't become weary in it. One of the things that I was able to do as I navigate is that when I tried to run away from special education, it kept coming back to me full circle until in my meditation one time, he said, it's your journey and your ministry. So if you see it, you see me and I see stuff and it says SPED is my jam. It's my journey and my ministry. I'm responsible for the lives that I have in front of me and the impact that I make on their lives. And so that's my why, that's my driving force. That will be my forever stance that I will take to advocate for those students.
I love it. I love it. Staying with the why, our audience, which I call my fam, our fam, this is because you fam too. Our audience is comprised of leaders. What advice do you have for the fam out there on the other side of my camera for sustaining their why despite the challenges, obstacles, pressures, demands that come with this work? What advice would you have for someone toward how they can maintain their focus on their why, their reason for doing this work in the first place?
The best advice I can give is to get your first grade picture of yourself. I have a picture of myself in my grandmother's room holding some pom-poms. And the way that my grandmother looked at me with all the hope, I had a 70-plus-year-old grandmother look at me knowing that she collected and saved poll tax so her and her siblings could vote. I had a grandmother that looked at me that educated 4 kids without her having just a high school diploma. And so that picture, I often look at that first grade and say, hey, this first grader deserved everything that was invested in her. And there is another first grader that I have to invest in, and another first grader that I have to invest in, and another one. And so you just keep figuring out how you can invest back in those kids. Then the next thing is, as a leader, don't get caught up in the bureaucracy. It goes hand in hand with what you talked about this morning and last week in your monologue, is that do not miss your moment because you are caught up in the authority of the title. And so don't get caught up in the bureaucracy of leadership. Get caught up in the purpose and the calling of the leadership. And remember that you have to be invested in what you have been called to do, and understand who's called you. Like, you can't answer every call. You cannot respond to everything. And so you have to look at it in that manner, because oftentimes in leadership, bureaucracy is what this really breaks down that leader, the bureaucracy and the politics of it. So remember what you're called to do. I'm called to make an impact on children's lives, and especially those that have been marginalized, unidentified, or just flat out looked over. So since I know my calling, regardless of who and what is in the situation, I don't get into the minutia of it. I have a calling on my life, and no matter what position, if you make me the assistant principal, the executive director, the calling is still the same. The impact is still the same. And so that's my advice to any leader, is that don't miss what you have been called to do.
Ooh, that's powerful. I'm gonna do something that I do often. I'm gonna deviate because you said something that I gotta ask you to go further with. You mentioned in passing poll tax, and I'm quite certain there's some young heads on here that don't know that history. Just give us a brief synopsis. What's a poll tax?
So prior to it goes as far back as Jim Crow. And one of the things that the United States has set up, or our government has set up, was to get people that couldn't afford, particularly people of color, ways to make sure that they didn't vote. And so what they did was they came up with a poll tax that you had to pay in order to participate in elections. And particularly in my family, my grandmother had 13 siblings. And so when I grew up in going over one of my grandmother's sister's house, I didn't know why they had the Folgers can in the garage. And so whoever would pass by would put their spare change in the Folgers can in my Amaw's garage. And that can was collected. And even after poll tax no longer exists, because remember, I was born in the late 70s, but they still kept that Folgers can, and they would collect the poll tax, so there would be no excuse for anyone in their family not to be able to participate in the election. And one of those stories that my grandmother's sister shared with me is ever so present with me, that's why I vote in every election. I don't care if it's local, if it's state, if it's national, I vote in every election because I remember the story of my grandmother saying how they used to collect poll tax. And so I would be less of who she has invested in as a person to not participate in election, knowing that the sacrifice that she had to make years prior to. And so that's poll taxes. And that was the way to just deviate us from participating in elections.
I'm gonna be silent for a second because I don't want to turn this into something else. Listen, y'all, I'm stay focused. I promise, I'm gonna stay focused. But I never heard this book. Like I pride myself on knowing history, but when I hear a can in the house that people will put spare change, that's I was just educated on something, right? A can. I know what poll tax is, but that can for spare change so that Black people could vote. And somebody now in 2024 talking about I ain't voting. If you know the history of how you got the right to vote, you might change your opinion. A can in the house so people could drop their spare change because poll taxes were set up that Black folks had to pay in order to vote. So they knew that the majority of people didn't have the money to vote. So now you can keep them from voting unless they raise the money to vote. All right, let me get back on. Hey, my wife's on here. Hey, Kim, I'm gonna get back on focus now. I'm gonna get back focused. All right, and my mother's on here. Mom, I'm gonna get back focused. But my mother might be saying, nah, maybe you should stay there. No, we going. So here we go. So your bio states, driven by her passion to affect change beyond the classroom, Alva pursued a master's degree in educational leadership, as I said before, at Prairie View A&M University. This allowed her to gain a deeper understanding of policies and systems impacting special education. Talk to us about why you felt the need, or talk to us about the significance of you pursuing this deeper understanding of policies and systems impacting special education for school leaders. Why is that important?
So I'm going to give some numbers because I'm a numbers person also. In the state of Texas, there are 12 public school districts, 1,200 public and charter school districts, right? So it means there will be approximately 1,200 directors of special education. Currently, there are over 650,000 students with disabilities in the state of Texas alone. So 650,000, 1,200 school districts. Of those 1,200 school districts, there are less than 50 African American in leadership in special education. Less than 50. Now, I gave you 1,200 school districts, almost more than 500,000 students with disabilities. And then I'm going to add this other statistic. Of that 650,000 students, more than 41% of those kids are Black and brown. So I had to get at the table where the decisions were being made. I think about Dr. Kim McLeod. She said, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. And so I had to get at the table where the decisions were being made for students that look like me. And so, and I needed to understand the policies around them. One of the policies that I was able to study, is particularly in Texas, is Chapter 37 that deals with discipline. That's a loaded weapon for our students. It's a loaded weapon. Chapter 37, the discipline policy that's in place for the state of Texas, and we're revamping it. We're having a discussion in our legislative session this summer about Chapter 37. So I wanted to be at the table where the decisions were being made. During that time period that I got my master's, I was still in a inner city school district, and I noticed that my kids would often get suspended more times than not. They spent most of their times out of school suspended. And so one of the questions that I posed to school leadership is that, what if I had in-school suspension in my content mastery? So if they got in trouble, they could just come to my room. Because if they're at home, what are they learning? If they are out of school suspended, what are they learning? And then couldn't parallel it at the time. Later was able to parallel it when I got my first director of special ed position. My first director of special ed position was at Dallas County Juvenile. Dallas County Juvenile serviced the 12 neighboring districts in Dallas County. And the recidivism rate at that time, almost 17 years ago, that the average student would come 4 times within a grading period. That student would come 4 times. They would be in some type of pre or post adjudicated program. And so we weren't reducing recidivism. The kids were just coming back. And so I started questioning what could we put in place to reduce the number of students that were getting these charges at under age 15 or being out of school suspended. So that really provoked me to want to be in school leadership, to be at the table where the decisions were being made for my students.
Wow. Off my script. Therefore, what advice do you have for the leaders watching now about becoming conversant in policies beyond the ones that they may know because of grad school, right? Just knowing policies, in this case, as it relates to special needs students, and being familiar with the systems that are in place right now.
So the best advice that I could tell a leader is to be well aware of the policies for your particular state as it deals with discipline, because often we have these most punitive consequences for kids that are due to subjective behaviors, because it depends on the person that is making the decision on the behavior. It becomes subjective, but it can become so punitive. I don't want to veer off too much, but in the state of Texas, we came up with a vape rule last legislative, that is automatic. You go to alternative placement for vapes. We cannot sustain that, because now the trend and the culture that we're living in, the average kid is going, it's an automatic go. It's not subjective. It is an automatic place on the vapes. And I think that law or that policy was put in place without discussion with how do we best service kids to make sure that we don't teach them or they can learn not to be at an early age addicted or have addictions. And so I think those policies, be involved in the legislative sessions of your state. Know when your biennial is and be very present in the decisions, because you have to enact those laws. You have to be the policy bearers and make sure that, hey, they become so subjective. Like those policies are in place. They're very punitive, but they're subjective based on the person. I don't think one fight garners a suspension. Let's figure out why you're fighting. Let's develop the relationship. Let's make sure that we are not identifying teacher disrespect automatically with it being a violation of the student code of conduct, or could it be something that is culturally relevant? Like the kids are not, the teacher is not aware of this kid's cultural relevance or understanding this kid's background before we assess this consequence. So as a school leader, I think the relationship is a big piece. understanding the policies that are for your state, knowing how to be decisive in your decision making, and making sure that you're making a decision that doesn't become so traumatic for the student, but it becomes a consequence that the student, that the behavior doesn't become habitual again, that it's not reoccurring.
Yeah. Let's stay there for a second, Alva. You know, folks, those of you who were on during my monologue earlier, and I brought to your attention that my former boss, who's a longtime friend, Dr. Kenneth King, when I was doing my internship, and I've shared this on here before in a different context, he used to come and visit me at the school and meet with me to mentor me about 3 times a week. And one day he brought all the policy manuals to the school, gave me copies and said, read this, learn it. He said, you can't make decisions that are emotional. You got to know policy to sustain whatever decisions that you make. And I'm saying that to say to someone out there, I'm just going to ask a question and I'm going to move on. Hey, fam out there. Hey, somebody out there. Do you know your district's policies, which is inclusive of special needs, right? Students with disabilities. Do you know your policies? I'm not asking you, do you have a cursory understanding? I'm saying, have you engrossed yourself into your district policies to know what the codes of and policies of your district are? What do you know? What is your level of comfort, familiarity with your district's policies? But also, he required that I read our state codes, state law, state codes in terms of education. What do you know about school law, right? What do you know about your state's codes? Do you know your material? Do you know your stuff? You can't just get in there and lead schools and not know the law, right? All that school law, you got to know policy, you got to know codes, you got to know law. That's important. You can't just get in there and make emotional decisions. But as it relates to students with disabilities, right? That's a whole additional education. And you got to be conversant. It doesn't mean that you're the special needs director, but it does mean the students are in your school. So you've got to be conversant in codes that relate to them, right? Policies that relate to them. You got to be. That's part of the school leadership. Enough said. So with everything that we said, Alva, as I'm gonna transition to this discussion on trauma-informed leadership. But before I do, I got the question I wanted to ask you that I ask everybody that comes on here. With everything that we've said and everything that we haven't said about you, if we could compartmentalize the education side of Alva Walker, who is Alva Walker?
I'm an advocate and a champion for children, all children.
Love it. Love it. That sums it up. Yeah, I love it. So let's I want to talk about some trauma-informed leadership because it's so important for the folks. And then to the fam out there, Alva's actually coming back because we're going to dive deeper into the students with disabilities. We're going to merge some of that into this discussion we're going to have now. But I just want to talk about trauma-informed leadership because so many of you and myself, when I was in leadership, have youngsters who are coming to school, bringing trauma with them, and us approaching it probably in ways that are adverse to what they're dealing with, right? So I wanted to talk about that because when I met Alva in Las Vegas, and she had this PowerPoint presentation, and this one screen just blew my mind. And I said, can we talk about that screen? And that's where we're getting ready to go. So with that being said, I got a question for you. Alva, what is trauma-informed leadership? Like, what does that mean?
Trauma-informed leadership basically says that I identify, I recognize, I respect that something has happened and that my response to what has happened will not impose even more trauma on the student, or how to respond back to the trauma as it occurs. You shared that often our kids come. I heard a leader one time says that kids carry 2 book bags. And in one of the book bags, they have their books and everything, but the other book bag has everything that they carry from day to day. And so our kids do often come with their second book bag or whatever happened the night before or what is going on in their house currently. And so to be a trauma-informed leader is to be well aware of your student, respecting what their needs are and providing those needs.
What is the significance to a school of having trauma-informed leadership versus trauma-uninformed leadership?
The benefit of having trauma-informed leadership, it allows for the school leader to embrace the social emotional side that leads into the academic. Because if a person is healthy and whole, regardless, the learning can happen. And so it leads in. Being uninformed means that we're always reactive, that we're always, for lack of better words, we on 10. We ready to go. We ready to go in and extinguish a fire that was just a candle. But when you're a trauma-informed leader, when things occur, your response to them will be different because you would have those tools in your toolbox that will make you think about, okay, how do I make sure that this kid is safe? How do I make sure that I tell them about the choices that I'm going to give them, how I'm going to respond to them? How do I collaborate with the entire school community? How do I know that? How do the kid know? How does the teacher know? How the entire staff know that, you know what, you can trust me as your leader, that I'm making the best decisions for this school community. And then you can press upon ways to empower them. How do I build them up so that they can know that I'm trustworthy, that this is a safe place, that this is a collaborative environment?
Love it. Let's say hypothetically, and I say hypothetically for now because it'll probably become reality soon. You'll understand when I say the question. Say hypothetically, you are the consultant at a national superintendent's conference. They brought you in to speak at it, and that's very doable. You know that. So you're this consultant at this national superintendent's conference, and you're there to talk about those areas that you're an expert in. And one of the things that you've discovered while being at the conference is that a lot of the superintendents have principals that report to them who are trauma uninformed, right? And that's a part of why they're at the conference, to learn from the expert, meaning you.
Mm-hmm.
What might you say to these superintendents who are leading districts where there's trauma uninformed leadership leading schools? What would be your message, without doing a keynote, but what would be your message to these superintendents at this conference that I'm sure that at some point in your journey you will probably address?
So I would start out asking the superintendents, think of, if you can, recall your first crisis, because we as superintendents always are, and I'm speaking as if I'm a superintendent, not yet, but on the way. We've all dealt with district level crises. How did you respond to that? Did your team know that it was a crisis? Could they see that you were unsure of the safety? And so having them reflect on their first crisis. So how do you disseminate that information to your team? How do we build the capacity of your principals to take that crisis and be able to disseminate it to the masses so that it can be dismantled, that it can be seamless, and it does not affect the day-to-day operations? So I would ask that question for them to think about their first crisis. But then so once I ask that question, and it's rhetoric, of course, then I would have the superintendents to discuss or just kind of pop out here and there, because that's the teacher in me, some of the responses. What are your first things that you do when you hear of the crisis? What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you communicate? How do you make sure that you do that? And then as we have this conversation throughout, how do you build the capacity so that first, safety is prioritized? Because that's one of the key things that we need to do. And then I will share with the superintendents the 5 basic principles of being a trauma-informed leader. And so
And I'm
some of
giving
these 5 basic,
too. Go ahead.
yes.
Go ahead.
So some of those 5 basic principles speak to what I've mentioned so far. Let's talk about safety. Let's talk about choice. Let's talk about collaboration, trustworthiness, empowering. And then we will go into detail. We'll talk about safety. We have to create an environment where people don't feel afraid, because when you act in fear, it's fight or flight. And so your response becomes fight or flight. And so now we have to make sure as leaders that we're building the capacity that this is safe, that even if we are dealing with a crisis, it's still a safe place, and that we have to alleviate or take away that threat or harm. So having that conversation about safety.
So let's stay with safety as the first of the 5 principles. We got 5 principles on here, fam. Safety, choice, collaboration, trustworthiness, and empowering. So we're gonna start talking about this creating an environment with feeling of freedom from threat or harm. Go ahead and elaborate on the bullet point first, on the principle first.
So safety is so important, more so psychological than it is physical. We want to make sure that the physical and psychological space is as safe as possible, right? But we want people to feel and think that they are safe, regardless of the occurrence, the situation, or the crisis that's in place. So we want to set up where safety is prioritized, and that's why I made it the top principle to explain to leaders about being a trauma-informed leader, is to understand, hey, making sure that we have alleviated any threat or harm. Let's take this out. Like, even though we're dealing with this crisis, let's take away the threat or the harm that might be there. And the reason why safety matters is because it's very important for us to make sure that everybody can make good decisions and good choices about the next steps. We want to make sure that a safety leader is aware of being that people feel confident in you, the leader, the person that's telling the next steps. So how can I be a trauma-informed leader and I can't disseminate the information without you seeing that I'm afraid, that I'm uncomfortable, that I can't make that decision? So we want to make sure you have communication, no surprises. Don't pop it up. Be very clear with your team that you're disseminating these next steps to. Be very aware of the environment that you're in, that you're making sure that this space is a space that we can make decisions, that you can communicate those things. And so safety is paramount. It's the top thing.
What happens if I've got staff in the building who, and here you're talking about the student, but what if I've got staff who are afraid in that particular school environment, in the context of what you just said?
So it's very important that as the leader, that I manage my emotional, manage my emotional intelligence, or my EQ. That even if I am frightened or alarmed by something, I'm trying to make sure that my team does not identify with me being frightened or harmed by it. That I'm assertive, that I'm sure in the decisions that I'm making as the school leader or the district leader, to tell you, hey, this is our next steps. These are our safe spaces. This is what's going to happen next. And people have to feel safe in the schools, in the school community as a whole, not just the students, but the teachers as well, because it's a domino. It trickles down to the lowest form. And so we want to make sure that teachers understand, hey, these are traumatic things that are occurring. However, this is how we're going to operate and navigate in this space.
Let's stay here, because I got so much swirling in my head right now. So I'm always Alva, I'm always thinking about the various people that tune into this platform. So we got seasoned folks, we got new principals, obviously, with the title of the platform, and then we got assistant principals. But we've also got, just like when I did my presentation yesterday, there was this large section of aspiring leaders. And when I was asking the question, who are the principals? They raised their hand. Who are the assistant principals? They raised their hand. Who's central office? They raised their hand. And then they yelled out, "You forgot somebody." The aspiring folks. So sometimes they can be overlooked, right? So here's what I'm asking. So I'm aspiring leader right now, but I could be veteran, and I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm saying to myself, as I'm on the other side of the camera, man, what Alva's saying is so right. What does that what does that look like in terms of when I'm having these conversations with staff as it relates to creating this environment with this feeling of freedom from threat or harm? So this conversation between principal and staff, or leadership and staff, what does that look like, and when does it even occur?
Often it needs to be a common practice of clear communication, so that when we're dealing with any trauma, or a student that has been exposed to trauma, or dealing with any type of crisis situation, this won't be a first time situation. So you want to always open up and have clear lines of communication with your staff, with your school leaders, with your district leaders, and avoid things that could be triggering language that could veer off from the actual topic of being discussed. We want to talk about how to ensure safety, and we want to talk about it factually. We don't want to talk about it in if this could occur or if that could occur, but what is happening in that moment. But we want to make sure that the communication is clear and that it happens often, so that when we are dealing with the situation, it won't be a first time occurrence. It will be so that my school leaders would know, hey, this is common conversation. We've practiced this. We've had this conversation on how to deal with those behaviors, or how to deal with this crisis, or how to deal with this occurrence. So it should be often. So to go back to your original question, what would I say to superintendents? It's very important as a superintendent, as a school leader, for us to have meetings or opportunities with our school leaders about topics that are ever so pressing in school now, and not surface things. Let's talk about when the crisis occur, when the trauma could possibly occur, when the behavior is inappropriate, when those things occur. Let's have those conversations right now in the moment, so that we don't have to wait till the crisis and then do a next steps meeting, or what we could have done better in that moment afterwards, or the debriefing to discuss all the things that we didn't do. Let's start having those conversations and practicing it, practicing having those clear conversations on, okay, leader, how do I navigate in this space? And making it comfortable enough for that aspiring leader to say to the leader, how do I navigate in this space? And then as a true leader, let them practice. It's your turn. So I need you to practice navigating in the space of being a leader, because you told me that you aspire to be one.
You know, that's powerful stuff. And you know, my takeaway from that, Alva, I'm hearing this word culture, and the way my brain is processing it is saying that there's got to be a culture created where this conversation is an inherent conversation in the work that we do, based on the needs of students that walk into the building, right? So it's not a reaction to a situation where, okay, this happened, so now let's talk about it. You know, when at the conference, you talked about the assistant principal in Texas that had the incident where her eye was hit out of the socket by the youngster with the chair. And now a situation like that, obviously we're going to come together as a staff and we're going to talk about it right at our school. But the rhetorical question is, are we going to sustain that conversation so that now we're being proactive and we're getting ahead of it, so that so those potential things that could arise, we're having the conversation and we know what it is that we need to do, because it's part of the culture of our school to have these conversations. So if I could hold my mirror up for the fam, oh, it got fingerprints on it, y'all. Josh Tovar might get on me. So that's better. So as I got the finger up, as I got the mirror up to the camera, y'all, I'm just asking you all out there, are you having this conversation at your school? right? Is this a part of your staff meeting, right? Is this a part of your PLC? Is this a part of your whatever meetings? But the one I have in my mind at the forefront is the staff meeting, where you've got everybody in the room to hear the same thing. Is this a part of your conversation, somebody out there? And if not, then you know that that's probably an area that you want to tighten up. You know, because we're talking about the safety. We're talking about creating an environment with a feeling of freedom from threat or harm. It matters. So Alva, I got a secondary question for you. You know, we talk about safety, and a lot of times we're talking about physical safety, but I want to ask you about safety on the emotional side. Talk to us about leaders creating an environment where students feel emotionally safe walking into that building every day.
So you touched on culture, and that's big for me. And I think I shared a couple of times that I am a faith-based believer, and the best teacher was Christ. And so he modeled that. Relationships, he modeled culture, he modeled all those things that we're trying to pick up. That's the new phenomenon in education. It's in that book. And so and he modeled that. And so you said, what do I say to leaders on the relationship side with kids to be able to manage their emotions? I also have an opportunity. I teach a postgraduate class for aspiring special ed teachers, and I reminded my students last week in class that you're the leader in the room. You don't have to remind anybody. You right there when you walk in the room, you're the leader.
You're the leader.
You're the leader. You're the leader in the room. And so what I say to aspiring leaders is that if you are the leader, and just based on that word alone, if you're the person that is responsible for a group of people or students, a body, or in any of the capacity, you have to have that mindset of a leader. And a leader thinks globally. They think for the entire community. What are the things that's going to be physical, psychological, the things that are environmental? We think of all of those things for our kids. And so when we think of those things, or we keep that in mind, then that helps frame our decision making. It goes back, and I circle back to the relationships. I'm 24 years into education, and I still have students my first and second year that somehow finds the former Miss Brown, now Miss Walker. And every now and then I get a message on social media and tell me how I made a difference in their life. And it's the relationship, because I already knew I was the leader. So I didn't have to remind the kid that I was in charge. I didn't have to remind anybody that I ran the classroom. I operated in the stance of me being the leader. And so that relationship that I built in them, keep thinking about last week's monologue and this week's monologue, and talking about your authority. I never tried to be my students' friends, because, and one of the things that I used to tell my students, unfortunately, was that all my friends had FICO scores. So I knew they couldn't be my friends because they had no credit. And so I never befriended my kids, but I did build a relationship with me that they could tell me some things. Like they could tell me if our lights got cut off last night, or my mama's having a baby, or just anything, or whatever could be going on in their life. We moving across the street, or whatever the case may be. But I built that relationship, and I never judged it. I never judged whatever, your lights being off, or your mom having, or whatever. I never judged that relationship. I mean, never judged that situation. So it was easier for me to build a relationship with that kid. And so it was so important for us to build a relationship, and not build a relationship as the teacher leader or the assistant principal leader, because oftentimes our kids are begging for someone to look up to. So now I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to be that teacher leader. I'm going to be appropriate. I'm going to be what you esteem to be a teacher, so that when you do see me at Walmart, you go into a state of shock because you can't believe your leader goes to Walmart. But to build that relationship and that capacity in the kids. And it's so important that we have relationships with students, not that we are in charge, but we are the leader. And it's a difference from being in charge and the leader.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, folks, hit that share button, hit that retweet, hit that repost, tag them Facebook groups. And by the way, hit that like button. Even if you dislike it, like it anyway. That's how we activate the algorithm. So hit the like button. We gotta be consistent with the technology. So hit the like button, hit the retweet, hit the repost, tag somebody, call somebody, let them know we're here and we're having a very important conversation with the good. I was almost saying the good doctor, but when in time.
Not yet.
Not
Yes.
yet. Growth mindset. Alva Walker in the building. I want to stay with safety on one more, Alva. I think about often that, and I probably talked about this in Vegas that day, the students have their own truth, right? And regardless of environment, everybody has their truth. I have my truth, you have your truth, and everybody on this call has their truth. But students come in and they have their own truth, but there are teachers in the building that may not be able to identify with the truth of some of the students in an intimate way. They may know it from a very casual perspective, a very stereotypical or generalized perspective, but they may not really understand the truth that their students are living. Talk to us about the role of leadership in launching. I'm not saying the role of leadership in being the all-knowing, but and I always make, just for clarity, I always make the distinction, Alva, between the leader and the leadership. So the leader is just me, it's just you. But the leadership is all encompassing. So talk to us about the role of leadership to ensure, or at least to increase the probability that staff have understanding of what it is to be a student in their classroom. And I'm assuming you heard me, but the camera went off. Is that you still there, audio wise?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you changing it back. Okay.
I didn't mean to change the background. I'm sorry.
Oh, can you get it back?
Yes.
Okay. And let me know if you need me to restate the question too. There you go.
Okay. I brought my charger in. My computer was dying. I apologize.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Do I need to restate? Or you
Yes.
good? Yeah.
Um,
To summarize it, I want you to talk to us about what is the role of leadership toward ensuring, or at least increasing the probability that as a staff, and this is under this category of safety, that we as a staff have some level of understanding of our students' truths, what it is to be them in that classroom. Because if I'm from an environment that doesn't have the challenges that the students have in their own environment, but I'm expecting them to be like the children from my home environment, that's a very different kind of environment, then I'm not being realistic, because the students in this other environment that go to our school may be bringing their own truths, which are different from the truths that the teacher lives. How, as leadership, what is it that I need to do to make sure that I've got an informed staff that understands what it is to walk in my students' shoes, their truth?
I think the most important thing is for us to have a built up repertoire of cultural relevance. I remember you started off by saying, well, she's from the South, and we can hear it, but understanding that culturally we are all different.
Yeah.
We're all we are. I mean, various, because just you and I both are African Americans, but you're from the East Coast and I'm from deep South, or the South. And so culturally we did things differently, you know? And so it is important as a student or as a teacher leader, student leader, starting with the principal, understanding that there are cultural differences and respecting them. Having the audacity to respect the fact that, you know what, we come from different makeups and backgrounds, and because I respect your different makeup and background, and then I'm going to embrace it. I'm gonna have a level of respect and love for your different makeup. I had a colleague once that always spoke about her students never looking her in the eye, and most of the kids were Hispanic males. Well, culturally, they look down when they talk in the South, and it's just because they feel it's a form of disrespect to look somebody eye to eye. And so I had to tell her, relax. He's actually telling you that he cares about you enough that he's not going to look at you in that demanding way. Or just culturally understanding. I had students as a behavior teacher. I was a behavior teacher for many years. And so I had students in my class that had the eligibility of emotional disturbance or now emotional disability, that some of their cultural makeup made someone misidentify them as emotionally disturbed, but it was really cultural norms.
Wow.
It was just the norm of their culture, and it wasn't a disability in a sense. And that was one of the great things that I got to learn and respect about them. This is what you do. I had often people do the poverty simulations, and we participate in these poverty simulations, and they ask you questions if you had a code, if you grew up with an encyclopedia. And then I'm the only kid standing over in the corner because I grew up with an encyclopedia. My dad paid the man that drove around with the briefcase every month, and I had an encyclopedia. And I had several codes because my grandfather was an AME preacher. So I had to have a church code, I had to have a school code. So I didn't meet no, but you can't make that assumption because I grew up in Oak Cliff that I grew up in poverty. And so we have to respect the various differences of people and not make assumptions. And then we have to take our imposed or our biases that we have about a group of people. Because you grew up one way, or because you had the exposure to or lack of exposure or one thing, doesn't make you less than or greater than anybody. It's very important for us to respect students where they are, because once they feel like that you respect them, or they'll give you the world. They're going to work their hardest for you. They're going to do the most that they can do for you. They're going to remind you of every time that they did something amazing, not so great. And so we have to start out giving people as a whole, as a school leader, as a teacher leader, we start with human respect. And we start and we eliminate those personal biases that we have, because we all have them. We make assumptions about people all the time. We do.
That's right.
We just have to put those on the back burner. And honestly speaking, that helps build the safety of the school community. When we don't start bringing in our own personal perceptions that we have about kids, about people, about student leaders, about teacher leaders or school leaders, then that builds that safety place. That builds an opportunity where people are free to, okay, I can't tell you how I think about something. Yeah. I can be honest with you about how I would respond to this situation. But I think that we have to start with human respect in the lowest form with the students, and then with the teachers, then with the school leaders, then with the district leaders, but start with human respect.
Yeah. That's a whole seminar. That's good stuff. That's strong stuff. Strong. Let me keep moving. You got this second principle, which you call choice, and you broke it up into 3 areas. Let's look at each separately. You said choice, providing opportunities that would include stepping back, being open-minded, and scaffolding. Let's go to stepping back first. What are you saying to us when you say, we're talking about these 5 principles of how to become a trauma-informed leader, and you're saying, well, you got choices, and one of them is stepping back. Stepping back from what? What are you saying?
Not in a rush to overreact or to react, period. I shared with you in the Las Vegas session about an occurrence that had just happened to me the day before I got to Las Vegas, where I was doing a visit in a classroom. It was one of our centralized programs. It was a behavior classroom, about 6 kids in there. Little boy was working on his computer, and they were getting ready for lunch. Well, the teacher and the paraprofessional was getting the kids ready for lunch. Kid closes down. She closes down his computer, getting ready for lunch, and he loses it. Now I'm in the room. He doesn't know me. I've just where I visited the room, but I'm not his teacher. I'm not the paraprofessional. He loses it. The paraprofessional freaks out because she's like, I got the ED of SPED in here and everything is going on. And so I immediately stepped back. I did not react. I did not react to the situation. That kid lost it, literally. Used profanity several times, called me every name but Alva Walker. But I did not react to his behavior immediately. Actually, I took a seat about 5 feet from him. I sat down. I communicated with him in the same tone that I was in, even though he was yelling through his crayons in there, glue sticks, went everything. He was a 6th grader, maybe 60 pounds, soaking wet, small kid, upset, angry. As I communicated with him, I stepped back and I changed the temper of the room. And that's what you can do when you start looking at the choices that you make. You can temperature the room, you can temperature the situation, you can temper the situation, you can, because when we go in reacting, ready to let out a fire that's just a candle, we oftentimes overreact and it becomes more reactive than proactive. So that's what I mean by stepping out. Stepping back, not making such a quick decision, but making a decision, hey, okay, let's see if he's going to de-escalate his behavior. And understanding that I have to be open-minded with the idea, okay, how is my paraprofessional responding to this? How do I make sure that my paraprofessional, she learns from how I respond to it? My teacher learns because she immediately radios in the assistant principal. The assistant principal, she comes in and she's ready to provide crisis prevention to the student. And I said, no, we're sitting back. Come on, have a seat with me. How you doing today? And as he's still losing it, I never lost it. And I was able to change the temperature of the room. And I was able to have a conversation with that kid. I asked him his name. I told him my name. And of course, he kept spewing out what he was spewing out. But then I asked him, well, how was your weekend? And he told me it was terrible. You know, he shared with me that his mom had grounded him for 1,000 years. And so I said, well, how old are you? He said 11. I said, oh, that's a long time. And so that took him off of, he didn't kick the door as much because now he's looking at me because I was like 1,000 years and you only 11. And then the student is still upset. But the whole time I was able to change how this situation could have escalated to us using crisis prevention, having to use a form of restraint, him harming himself, him harming me, my staff, anybody else. It's just that I made the choice to not overreact in that moment. Then I was open-minded to the point I told the student, you want to know something that I like? And he, of course, used, profanity, but then he stopped and listened. I said, oh, I love chips, all kinds except the hot ones. I said, what do you like? He said, I like ice cream. And then he said, but I don't have any money because I'm grounded for 1,000 years. I said, well, guess what? I got some money. And I was able to calm him all the way down. I said, but before I spend my money on you, you got to put this room back together. And so it was all about choices. Wow. He was able to see, okay, I'm not escalated like him. I stepped back. I didn't overreact like, you going to clean this room up now? You going to do this right this second? I was open-minded. And then my whole goal as the leader in the room was to show my team how to de-escalate the behavior without escalating themselves. So now I scaffold. I was able to use that as a teachable moment for them to understand, okay, now this is how you can de-escalate the behavior without you being all exasperated and all undone and ready to walk off the job. This is how you can do it and calm this student down. And so that's why I think that choices is the second fold of being a trauma-informed leader. I ensured the safety. I stepped back. I did not get into his parameter where he was destroying things. I sat on the other side of the room. I had the assistant principal when she came in, come on over here with me. Everybody's gonna sit over here and we're gonna de-escalate this, and I'm gonna model for you how to make good decisions so that this could be safe, it could be in the best benefit for this student. And then we can also understand that when I'm not here, you can use this tool or this tip on how to pick the ways to de-escalate this student without overstimulating yourself. But that's where I go into choices. What does it look like? What am I thinking about? Not making a big to do about every situation.
So let me ask you this question, and that's Dr. Johnson I just put on the screen there. When if you saw me about 5 minutes ago on my phone, I was texting her to remind her that you were on. That's Dr. Erica Johnson, y'all, from out there in Texas. Shout out to you, Dr. Johnson. How I'm always thinking about the folks that are tuning in. So I fall back or I step back. How do I know? And every situation is obviously different. So this is a tough question to really ask you. But let's try it. How do I know when? Okay, now I can jump in, right? I've fallen back. So I'm letting youngster exhaust whatever it is that he's saying, doing whatever it is. I've stepped back from it. When do I feel I can approach him?
When you know within you that no matter what that child does next, it won't escalate you.
Okay.
That when you know that within you, nothing that you respond, that you can remind yourself that you are the leader in the room. When you know that nothing that this child does next, because we did get lucky in this situation. I was able to diffuse him, but I had already had my mind made up that I was the leader in the room, and no matter what behaviors this kid displayed, he was not going to escalate my behavior. He was not going to cause me. And so it's very important as a school leader to understand that you have to be able to manage your emotions, no matter where that kid is, where that student is, where the situation is that you're managing your emotions to the point that you are identifying what's in the best interest for the entire school community. That I can make rational, good decisions regardless of how heightened the situation may currently be.
I love that you said that because I keep my eyes on the chat always. And Kimberly May said we have to first check ourselves, which is what you're saying. Are we even ready to engage in this situation? And you just spoke to it. I think. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that I agree. We have to know that we're ready, because what happens is if we're on 10 with the kid, I have some theories about things that have occurred as far as behavior with students, and the response is that we have to make sure that we have managed our emotions, that we're not letting the situation dictate how we respond.
Yeah. Good stuff. There's a whole lot I could share in terms of personal experiences, but let me stay focused. And the next time we come home, we'll get into some of those. The second one you said was being open-minded. What are you saying to us on that one?
Be open-minded to even though you are maybe offended by what's occurring, even though you're upset because the room is destroyed or the kid has eloped or whatever the case may be, do not be so closed or tunnel vision on, I'm going to correct this behavior right now. See, we want to de-escalate the kid. We want to make the environment to be safe again. And then now we can work on the correction of the behavior once we have de-escalated the situation. So don't be so tunnel vision on, I'm going to correct this behavior and it'll never happen again. Because as sure as you put all your bets on it not happening again, it's going to happen again. And so it's very important that you're open-minded, and then be receptive of the other individuals in the room. If my paraprofessional or if my AP had chimed in, I would have been all for it. If it was in the best benefit for us to maintain safety in that classroom with that kid, I would have been all for it. Do not be the end all be all.
All right.
Be receptive of things that, and if it's in the best benefit. And then provide immediate feedback. Go ahead and coach right in that moment. So when my AP wanted to come in and provide restraint, I said, not this time.
Yeah.
Not this time.
That makes me think about being that bigger person, knowing that you may have a certain skill set in something, but there may be someone on your team or even someone on your staff who can handle a situation far better than you can. Mm-hmm. Do you have the ego to yield to that person, right? Because if my ego is such that I know this person could probably resolve this situation, but then how does that make me look? Well, see, then one has to work on their ego, because it's not about you. It's about this youngster. So you got somebody that's got a certain skill set that can diffuse a situation far better than you ever could, then you got to yield to that person so that we can resolve the situation, because it's not about you. And that's why, and that's why I make that distinction between leader and leadership. See, if it's all about the leader, then that ego is going to get in the way. But if I understand that I'm operating under the umbrella of leadership, then me empowering this other person or yielding to this other person, that's leadership. It's what it is, right? So it's a win regardless, right? So good stuff. And then the last one you had was scaffolding. What is that all about?
Okay, so when you're identifying or finding those positive choices or hard, be supportive. It talks about what you just said. If someone else has the better idea, the goal is to ensure safety, school safety, and not just ensure school safety, but to make sure that the students are in an environment that is conducive to learning. So whoever came up with it does not matter. It does not matter who came up with it. If it's in the best benefit of the kids, that I'm high-fiving my team and I'm saying, hey, it's enough room for both of us to navigate in this space. And so being supportive, and then and being able to be clear about what's going to happen. What next? Okay, knowing what's next to do. I was clear and very concise with the AP that we wouldn't try restraint, and these are the reasons why. So she wouldn't think that I was just using my space of being the ED of SPED saying we're not going to restrain this kid. No, we're not restraining, because that's the expectation of the student. The student knows that when I do this much, then this is what's going to happen next. Well, we got to change it so that we can change the behavior. And so right there in the moment, I explained why, hey, at some point, restraints are important. If you feel like he's going to be imminent danger to himself and others, yes. But this time, we got to turn this into a moment that we not only we educate the kid on his safety, we educate the paraprofessional, the teacher in the room. All of us get an opportunity to learn from this situation and how to be able to de-escalate it at its lowest form without having to even use any form of restraints.
So on the one hand, Alva, you've got someone like you in the district who's director of in your case special needs or executive director, but on the other hand, you got that building level leadership. Listen, just digesting everything you said since we've been on this morning. That leadership has to have an awareness that everything we're talking about right now has got to be a part of that leader's repertoire relative to the culture of the building, their engagement with staff. So toward us growing professionally and having an understanding of our roles when we're in these situations, sometimes these extreme situations. How do we handle this? Like do we understand the whole safety component of what you said? Do we understand the stepping back? Do we understand the being open-minded? Do we understand the scaffolding? As leader, am I engaging my staff or having given my staff opportunity to talk this through, bringing in someone like an Alva Walker in to explain it further, make us understand it as far as professional learning, and then the reading and studying that we do, so that what we're discussing this morning, this afternoon, it's still morning here, it becomes a part of the culture of our building.
So it's very important for, as a executive director or a district level professional, to understand the role that they play in the school. I often remind my colleagues that you run a building and I run a program, and we are a team. And so I build that capacity of understanding that you run a building, I run a program, and we collaboratively work. We both need each other. We both work collaborative. So then I give them different tools. As a executive director of special education, there are always different tools that I provide to my principal leaders about things that they should know, pivotal things that happen at the beginning of the year. What happens when we right before break? I want us to keep our eye on our kids that we're getting ready to go on fall break. I want you to be aware of your students in your building. So it's very important as a district leader is that we have a relationship with our principals, that we're not just there for them when something arises, that we're always a constant support to our building principals. Because as you're running a school, I want to be able to build your capacity that you know every aspect of your school community, understanding discipline when it comes to students with disabilities, understanding programming, instructional work, understanding that special education is curriculum and instruction first. It's not a compliance. It's a component of curriculum and instruction. That's what special education is. So building that capacity of the school leader to understand that I'm your support system. I'm here to provide you support, and always providing you support, not in a crisis, not when we're dealing with due process, not when we're in an egregious situation or an upset parent, but throughout the process of being present on your campus to support you. That's why I do campus visits, supporting those particular principals to know that I'm here. I'm going to walk through. If I'm investing in this particular curriculum and I've spent thousands of dollars on it, I need to see it at work for our kids. I need to see how it's being best utilized. How do I support that teacher that they can use this program that we've invested in? And so understanding as a district leader that we are not office people, that we're just as boots on the ground with your school, because we help your school function. You run the building, we run the program, and we're here cohesively. We are working together.
Yeah, love it. Let me go to this next one. As time is racing, and I got that flight, but we're gonna get as much in as I can. That next one, you said collaboration. Not being the expert, reaching out and breaking down barriers. And I know that we kind of touched on each of them, but go ahead and give us the overview of all three.
So being collaborative, and that component of being a trauma-informed leader is to understand that decisions about people are made, that the decisions about people are not made without them. That power is shared, and that there are different points of view, and they are encouraged and respected. So we're reaching out. What do you think? I'm not just the only expert in the room. We're all experts. What do you think? What's in the best benefit for that student? Breaking down barriers, making it where it's comfortable to have those uncomfortable conversations, and knowing that there is no consequence to having that uncomfortable conversation. Because oftentimes our school leaders, we pose questions, but we're really not looking for the answers, or we're only looking for a particular answer, right? So we have to make sure that we make this environment is where we breaking that barrier. Hey, tell me, what are your thoughts about this? Where do we stand? Because the implementation piece is me and you, and not just me. It's inclusive of all of us. We all implement it. And so how do I make it where you are a leader that people can come to and be honest with you about their needs, be honest with you about their concerns, and give their suggestions, and they not be taken down?
Love it. Let me go to the next one. And again, I'm only rushing because of the flight. We're going to come back and revisit these when we do our parts. You said trustworthiness, principle number 4, becoming a trauma-informed, how to become a trauma-informed leader. Consistent, persistent, predictable, trusting. Give us an overview of what you're saying with all 4.
So as a leader, it is so important that we are consistent. We cannot be weather leaders. And what I mean by weather leaders is that we cannot change with the weather. We need to be consistent about who we are as a leader. And we need to be persistent on being that leader that can be consistently visible, valuable, and integral to the school community. We need to be persistent about the urgency of understanding how to respond to things, understanding the role and the capacity of how to respond to things. And then we need to be predictable. We can't fly by the seat of our pants and be a trauma-informed leader. We cannot make lack of better words, crash dummy decisions and think that that's going to be in the best benefit. My team, for a fact, they can identify what's going to be a Walker-ism. They know this, how Miss Walker going to respond. If someone from the campuses call me about a situation, okay, my team for a fact can say, Miss Walker's on the way. I'm going to show up. and I'm going to show up and be visible for them so that we can make a collective decision. And then you have to be trusting. People have to trust you. People have to be able to trust what you say and what you do and who you are as a leader.
Mm.
And it just goes back that they don't need to question whether your leadership is flaky or not, or if it's not valuable, it holds no value, or that it can change again like a weather leader. It's so important for us to be trusting as leaders. Say what you mean what you say, and follow through. If this is what you're going to do, stand on it. If this is the hill you're going to die on, this is the hill that you're going to die on. And so be that person. It's so important to be that person.
And so many zillion questions I want to ask about consistent, persistent, predictable, and trusting. But again, fam out there, we're going to revisit all of this. I got a flight pretty soon. So I just want to go to this last one. Empowering. A coaching culture, invest, leave no one behind, and provide good ideas. Floor is yours.
All right. So it circles back to our forum. It's so important that as a leader to produce other leaders. It is imperative to me. I always use the metaphor. Would you rather be or actually the simile, would you rather be a legend or a legacy? See, legends, they just talk about that occurrence. A legacy, it means that now if somebody else is going to get it, right? And so being a legacy means that I'm going to empower people, that I'm going to coach you up. I often pride myself on being the Nick Saban of special ed. You know, he was the winningest college coach. And so I'm the Nick Saban of special ed. But then I'm going to invest because I want to create more directors of special ed. I want to create more people of color that have a love for special ed. I'm not going to leave anybody behind. And if you didn't love special ed, you're going to say, well, being around Alva, I can't help but to love special ed because she loves special ed, and provide good ideas. Now, they're not always yours. They could be somebody else. Make it where you are building the capacity of the people in your school community that, hey, what's your idea? What do you think we should do next? What do you think about that? And then that person that you think that's going to sit quiet and away, don't leave them behind. Bring them in. Everyone has a skill set. Everyone has a skill set. Invest in that skill set. And a coaching culture, I'm going to coach you up. Now, another thing my team can say, if we're in a situation where I'm going to have a conversation and whisper sweet nothings to you, I'm going to coach you up. We're not going to do this again. This won't happen. But this is how I'm going to make sure that this won't happen. And I'm going to always coach you up. I'm so big on being a legacy instead of a legend. I don't want people to just talk about the Alva Walker. I want people to be impacted, that I've created some more within other people, Alva Walkers. And so I'm big on being a legacy and empowering people to find out what their love is and coaching that love up. And so it's so important as a trauma-informed leader is that we are in a season or in an opportunity where we're coaching people up to be the best that they can.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Look, I'm doing your content somewhat of a disservice. I know people are enjoying it, but I just want to go deeper in it. But we already got that second date book, so and maybe able to get a third one in there too. But I'll make my flights. I want to do these impact questions. I call them my BAM impact. These are one sentence or one word answers, your choice. But when you start feeling like you're adding a comma, it's wrong, I might say, right? So,
okay.
Rapid fire, BAM, impact. Here we go. Is education on the right path for underserved children in America?
No.
Are you optimistic about the educational prospects for the masses of Black and brown students in America today?
No.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes.
Does Alva Walker's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Yes.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
The same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
It's a calling on my life.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Dismantling the misconceptions about students with disabilities.
What do you absolutely love about the work that you do?
The aha moments that parents and students have when engaged with me.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
The number of misidentified children.
What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
Leading in a community that's not representative of who I am.
What has been your greatest mistake in this work thus far?
Oh, that was what you stopped me. Overthinking.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. What has been your greatest challenge in this work thus far?
Having opportunities to share my love with other leaders about special ed.
Who inspires you in your work?
So many people.
So many. What are you reading right now? Book, blog, tweet, anything?
I'm reading What Drives Winning by Brett Ledbetter.
Good stuff. What book would you recommend to our viewers this morning, still Central Time?
Any book by Principal Kafele, and any book by John Gordon.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
My life dream is to be the president of Jarvis Christian University.
Ooh. Are you satisfied with where you are professionally?
No.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Don't stop. Remember your calling.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Go back to that first grade picture of yourself.
And finally, if Alva Walker was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
I'm the voice for the voiceless.
Voice for the voiceless. I love it. And let me tell you, the fam out here, they did their thing as far as the emojis, the applause. I always ask for the fam and the newcomers, let us know if this session, if it resonated with you, if it meant something to you, if you found it useful, if there was information that you could apply to your leadership, if you just downright enjoyed it. Give us your favorite emojis. Give us a lot of them, but they already started. Them emojis are coming so strong. So I'm on the roads. I got my little bat, y'all. So hit it out the park, grand slam, Alva. Every time you came to bat, man, it was.
Thank you.
You knocked it out. This was powerful. You know, there are folks out there that could probably benefit. No, forget probably, that would benefit from you spending a day in their district, or maybe some conference planner that would benefit from you being a keynoter or a featured speaker. Let the folks know how to get in touch with you so that they can get you in there.
All right. Thank you again, Principal Kafele. I do count this as an honor. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. If you would like me to come out, support your district, your campus, you can reach out to me. Email address is spedismyjam@gmail.com. So again, spedismyjam@gmail.com. And again, I'm Alva Walker. I'm so excited about any opportunity that I could have to support your campus or your district.
Give me that one more time. Hey, Sheikah, if you out there, could you type that for me, or Melissa, any of the fam, type that email address for me, and then I'll put it on the screen. Somebody, go ahead, give us that email.
spedismyjam, JAMLLC@gmail.com.
All right, y'all got that. Y'all got that. And what about social media? Oh yeah, thank you, Christy.
So Alva Walker, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Miss A Brown 26 on Twitter, just my first and last name on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. Yep, that's what I have right now for social media.
There you go. And Christy Berry gave it to us. Sped is my jam, LLC@gmail.com. Appreciate it. So y'all reach out, and I'm sure that there's some work out there for Alva to come out and talk to your folks, and you guys learn a whole lot, not just on the on the trauma informed side, but on the students with disability side as well. That's her thing, and that's why we're bringing her back, so we can have a follow-up conversation or two. We'll work it out. But other than that, y'all, let me close us out before you leave. I got a flight to catch, man. That's only because y'all know I don't stop this early, man. I got this 2:19 Central Time flight. So let me hurry up, but let me get something here. Real quick, y'all know I'm in a certain mode right now as it relates to what you get ready to see on my screen right here. Bam. Make sure that you get yourself a copy, but let me go in my order. First, thanks everybody for being here. Thank you for being here. Every time I'm not in my normal home environment, I'm a little off kilter. So thanks for being here for week 234 with Alva Walker. Great session. Join me next week for week number 235. I'll be live from Montego Bay, Jamaica, and celebrating my 64th birthday, which is Tuesday, the 22nd of October. I'll have Dr. Avis Williams with me. She is the former superintendent of Selma City, that's Selma, Alabama, former superintendent of Selma Schools, and the current superintendent of New Orleans Public Schools. So Dr. Avis Williams, she's also an author of the Anti-Racist Roadmap to Educational Equity. Again, the Anti-Racist Roadmap to Educational Equity. So she'll be with me one-on-one next Saturday, same time. 10:55 Eastern time from Montego Bay. I wish there was a way I could do that, like outside, like by the beach, man, get the whole vibe, right? But I can't get no Wi-Fi like that out there. And I'm not going to trust the phone to do that. So we'll be in a meeting room that they charge me for, by the way. I need y'all to be knowing this stuff, man. Hang on with me for a second. So it's not as bad as where we going, Mexico, man? What's Cancun? It's not as bad as Cancun when they charge me $1,300 to do to my academy when I interview Zaretta Hammond. But I do pay $380 when I go to Montego Bay. So I just don't want y'all to think it's just me plugging in and doing this. I go to a meeting room because I got to get on separate Wi-Fi, dedicated Wi-Fi, because I don't want to compete with the guests when I'm on an island. When I'm here at the Gaylord, we good. But on an island, that's a different animal. So I actually pay to do this broadcast. I just want y'all to know that. I'm not patting myself on the back. I ain't looking for y'all to give me no salutes and all that kind of thing. I just want you to know my commitment. That's all. That's the only reason I'm sharing that with you. I want you to know my commitment, but I also would like to model commitment, right? So if I'm willing all these different, when I travel and I'm paying all this money to do this, when I can pre-record it, right? I don't want to pre-record. I'm going live. And if I'm somewhere where they say you got to pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, I get it done, right? Because I know that there are people on the other side that benefit. How do I know that? Because they tell me all the time, right? Many of you. So that's why we do it that way. So with that being said, next week, join me, 10:55 Eastern time. But then at 10 o'clock on Facebook Live, join Sean Hurt, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Myself at 10:55 with Dr. Williams next week. And then PDP podcast with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno. That's every Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern time, right? And then my books, I don't have books with me, but you see one up on that screen. What is my value to the teachers I supervise instructionally? You can pre-order it right now. Pre-order it right now, right? So go to Amazon or go to ascd.org. Maybe I'll get the maybe I'll step up my tech game and put the QR code right on the screen. Yeah, let me do that next week, man. I'm gonna show y'all something next week, man. Hey, Sheikah, I'm gonna show them something next week. I'll put that QR code right on the screen, baby. Right? I had that up next week. I'm gonna call my man and tell him to give me that QR code, and then they can just go right there, man. So I shouldn't be talking too big. I hope I have it next week, right? Make sure that you get the other books as well while you're at Amazon. And where we at? Subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. Subscribe. We had 22,700, so we had a pretty good week. Subscribe, right? And then hit the notification bell once you subscribe. You'll see it after you subscribe, man. My goal, 100,000 subscribers, right? So let's keep it moving. Let's keep it going. So also like and follow the AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page. I can tell you right now that I'm not going to have an essay tomorrow because I'm going to be on that plane, man. And it's an early flight, so I'm probably going to be sleeping on my way to Montego Bay. So I won't have an essay tomorrow. I'm going to be chilling on that plane. Right. But I hope to have it. Now, I ain't gonna have it the next week either because I'll be flying back to Jersey. So I'll have it in a couple of weeks, y'all. But still visit the page because all the old ones are there. I've done like 120 something of them. So I don't know that you all have read 120 of those commentaries that I write. Right. So just scroll that AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page and you will see them. Visit principalkafele.com for all my additional resources. Make sure you remember, y'all, I'm not just a Saturday live streamer. I'm also a presenter. So as I say with all my guests, when they give the contact information, I'm at principalkafele.com. I'm not in a situation where what am I trying to say? I'm not in a situation where I'm looking for excessive business because I'm trying to like add a little bit more balance to my life. But still, I'm still out here heavy. So if you want me to come through, just hit me up at principalkafele.com and I'll be there, right? I'll be there. That's what I do. So other than that, your diet, take care, eat right, your exercise, take care of yourself. And those viruses out here, it's a lot of them, man. So make sure that I'm not going to make recommendations to you. Just do what you got to do to safeguard yourself, right? Whatever that is. Other than that, have a great week. Alva, you stay there for me. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam. I see y'all next Saturday from Montego Bay, and I will be 64 years old when you see me. That means I got one more year, and them Social Security checks will be coming in the mail.